Good day, everyone. Welcome to another one's Web3 Runway, breaking down barriers, making Web3 accessible to all. So, just a brief background. So, Web3, as we all see right now, encompassing technologies like blockchain and cryptocurrencies, has the potential to revolutionize the internet, but its widespread adoption faces hurdles. And to bridge the gap and make Web3 accessible to all, several challenges need to be addressed. And this includes the complexity of the technology, scalability issues like high cost and slow transaction times, and a lack of user friendly interfaces. And by simplifying the user experience, providing educational resources, and focusing on security and scalability, Web3 can evolve into a more inclusive and accessible space for everyone. So let's discuss it in today's. So stay tuned and welcome um, to our audiences out there. And by the way, my name is Lupin, community manager of AN1, and along with me is Marco Stagliano, CEO and co-founder of Another One. And alongside is Ethan Francis, Developer Relations at Particle Network. So good day, guys, and welcome to Web3 Runway. This is the
Good
first set.
morning. Good morning.
Hi, Marco. Hi, Ethan.
Hi, Lupin. Hi, Ethan. Good to be here.
Thanks. And I will start with Marco. So could you tell us a brief background about AN1? Just a brief. Yeah,
Yes. For those of you that
overview.
don't know me, Marco Stagliano. I'm CEO and founder of Another One. My background is more in corporate finance, M&A, and investment for the last 20 years. And most and foremost, I'm also a big sneaker collector. That is what helped me to start building the phygital experience that we have now in Another One, and creating this immersive experience with the physical goods. There are collectibles and real world assets together with NFTs.
Thank you for that, Marco. And also to Ethan. So can you tell us about Particle Network?
For sure, yeah. So, I guess as a kind of an initial introduction, my name is Ethan, although I go by the alias Tabasco online. I do developer relations here at Particle Network, so I do all of our documentation and I do awesome podcasts like these, as well as Twitter Spaces, stuff like that. Always a ton of fun. We actually just wrapped up ETH Denver last week, so we were out there. It was awesome. Did a bunch of different panels and talks at the main event, and we had a great time out there. So now we're kind of back, and we are definitely building, and actually, like, what we're building today and what we've been building really over the past year is solutions that are centered around this idea of improving core user experience and kind of solving points of friction in Web3 that have prevented users from getting into the space. So like right now, one of our core products is what we call Smart Wall as a Service. Basically, what this does is it actually allows users to get into applications in Web3 through nothing more than their social login. So Google or email, Twitter, stuff like that. It's basically 2 clicks. They're into an account, they're into a wallet. They can start using things and interacting on chain with nothing more than a mechanism that they're already familiar with, right? People already use social logins in Web 2. So we're basically taking that same level of user experience and bringing that to Web 3. And we tie this very closely in with technologies like ERC-4337 account abstraction, where we actually onboard users into smart accounts from their social login process. And now going into kind of 2024 and the rest of this year, we're getting into even the idea of like chain abstraction. So removing multi-chain complexity, further abstracting away the underlying user experience problems that exist within Web3, and pushing us closer to this idea of a kind of interoperable, easy to onboard into ecosystem. Because I mean, ideally, we want a billion users from Web3. We want like this idea of mass adoption. But the way that we get there is through the improvement of user experience, which is exactly what we're centered around doing here at Particle Network.
Thanks for that introduction, Ethan, aka Tabasco. So yeah, I do agree that the mass adoption must be take place if there are less friction in terms of onboarding them to Web3. So without further ado, let's discuss things right now with the current situation. So the challenges in terms of Web3 onboarding and the challenge faced on onboarding to Web3 and highlight real world examples of challenges. So maybe we can start with Marco. So what are some key challenges as with AN1 and AN1 and TSS as well? Some key challenges users face when trying to onboard or trying to start in Web3 or integrate with Web3 apps and platforms.
One of the main challenges that we had since the beginning was onboarding Web 2 audience and Web 3 not savvy potential users, because the biggest obstacle that they had to interact with us was to own a MetaMask account mostly, or other wallets that are compatible with the wallet connected is the other option that we had at that time. And it is actually not easy for everyone to have those the knowledge. But also more into, for TSS was pretty much easy because the offering was mostly addressed to Web 3 savvy and Web 3 communities. So we had a minting contract; it was easy, and the experience was also pretty smooth. With Another One, we had a more difficult problem because we were cooperating with brands. So we were actually exposing our product to those people that they usually are more used to a traditional shopping experience online. So with Shopify, with connecting, your email account, creating your account, inputting your credit cards. That is something that we're also working on on another one for our future product. So creating an experience that is more similar to the Web2 experience will would have helped us more in the past. I'm talking about 2022, 2023. um, and it more on also our choice to be based on Polygon. It takes also the needs of having Matic for creating the transaction, converting the MetaMask into the Polygon chain, and sometimes you have to input the all the details of the token contract for adding the Polygon network on your MetaMask. And for us, there are in let's say they're working daily with those elements. It's like nothing. But for a user, and especially when you are in the sale moment, when you are boosting the hype and you're getting traction, it is very uncomfortable, and it is probably lose the will to make the purchase. I always make the same example. One of my good friends at a very famous club in Milan, and it always told me, when you have the clients in front of the bar, you have 5 seconds to grab their cash and give them the cocktail. Otherwise, you will lose him forever. And it's the same. It's the same thing when you have like a Web3 product that you're selling, especially because we are based on mostly on the hype of the sales. We want to be sold out immediately, so you have to provide a fluid experience. This is, I guess, for the problems that we encounter, especially on the sales side, for another one in terms of access and user experience. We can talk later more also on the engagement experience, because it's definitely the second interaction part that we're focusing on.
Thanks for that, Marco. And yeah, same question as well for Ethan. So what are the some key challenges to onboard?
Sure, yeah. So, I think it's interesting. Whereas like in Web3 over the past like 1 year or so, we've gotten to a point now where like, I think before there was this problem of like there weren't really enough applications Web3 that had consumer potential, but this isn't the same challenge today. There's a lot of developers and builders that are creating things that are consumer facing that have real consumer implications. I think another one is a great example of this, of like truly intertwining, of course, physical and digital assets. This is like a prime use case of Web3, right? So like the question then becomes like, well, then why in Web3, if we have a lot of like great use cases for consumers and we have things that really do take advantage of Web3 technology and kind of create something unique that you wouldn't have otherwise without Web3. Why isn't there a ton of users that are flooding into Web3? Why don't we have this idea of 1 billion users throughout the entire ecosystem? And a big part of this is because in Web3, there's still today, and there has been a lot of UX challenges. At the end of the day, we're using a blockchain, and by using a blockchain, you have to go through a lot of hurdles to make this feel smooth because of the inherent nature of blockchains and the point that we're at in terms of innovation today. So like to give some context, in the past, even for a great application, even for something very consumer facing like a game or like a payments application or anything of that nature, right? To onboard as a user, I have to download an application, either an extension or an app on my phone. I need to go and create an account. I'm going to get a like 12 or 24 word seed phrase I have to write down myself. If anybody finds these 12 or 24 words, my money is lost forever. So I need to like find a way to secure this and like not lose it. I mean, this is a very big implication on end users. And then whenever I want to actually use the application, every action that I'm doing, I have to sign a transaction for. So I have to go and I have to click confirm. I have to pay gas fees. I have to wait for network conditions to like process. I have to wait like processing times for the actual transaction. That can be anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes, depending on the blockchain that you're using. I mean, this is a lot of hurdles for end users. I mean, everything that we just talked about right now are things that don't exist in Web 2. Web 2, it's one click, you just do your thing and that's it. Web 3, you have these major barriers that make it incredibly complicated for users to get in. This is improved some over the past like 12 months, primarily in that initial step that I mentioned, which is actually getting into Web3. Whereas now, a lot of applications, especially those that are more consumer facing, have implemented solutions that don't require users to go through this whole process of downloading the extension, downloading the application, writing down a bunch of words on a piece of paper or something, and like securing that themselves. Today, users can get into these applications most of the time with around 2 clicks. They click on whatever social login mechanism they want, they click on the account they want to log in with, and that's it. Of course, this is what we do at Particle. So one of our core products is enabling this flow where as an end user, I log into an account via my social login. I don't need to worry about managing a seed phrase. I don't need to worry about downloading any application. It's all handled on the application level. Now, this is a big step forward in terms of making things feel more Web2 adjacent in that onboarding phase. I think still as an industry, we have a long way to go in terms of the actual interaction and engagement piece of how do you have users leverage an application even after they've onboarded. That still has a lot of friction in a lot of cases, but I think in general, we've improved significantly on the onboarding piece, but still today you have a number of problems in terms of just like making that experience consistent and kind of having this universal onboarding flow that hopefully helps users get into Web3 as easily as possible. And we've been pretty happy with our progress on this front and the level of adoption we've driven within the ecosystem through this. I think it's around 17 million total activated wallets at this point, which we've been pretty happy with, and it definitely has contributed to getting people into Web3. But still, like collectively as an ecosystem, there is a ways to go in terms of having this onboarding feel streamlined and kind of having it universally accessible across all applications, not just a select few. So this is something that of course, we're trying to drive. And at Particle, we're now trying to even extend the solution past the onboarding point into the interaction point. But that being said, there's still a number of problems, but it has gotten significantly better over the past 1 or 2 years.
Thank you for that, Ethan. And yeah, I do agree with you guys that Web3 actually is much of a challenge in terms of onboarding because of some nitty gritty stuff like linking wallets and such. But hopefully, we can, as the industry matures, definitely it will smoothen or ease the access in terms of onboarding. And second question as well, I'll start right now with Ethan. So, in what ways do these challenges impact users or and the overall expansions of Web3 ecosystem? So, yeah.
For sure, yeah. I mean, you can imagine like the friction that I just described. Like we can go back actually to like the more universal experience, which is like, while social logins exist today, like I mentioned, there's only a few applications or a select few applications that want to use social logins that do use it. So still, I would say probably for at least 70% of end users, they're still kind of managing this wallet experience. So what does that look like, right? I mean, like I mentioned, that flow that I just talked about, like downloading an application, securing a seed phrase and whatnot. What this results in is number one, it's a process that takes a lot of time. So you're immediately losing a significant number of users just out of like them not wanting to go through that process, right? And Web3, I mean, there's of course incentives to go through it. That's why you still have some people that do, but you're going to lose a significant number of users just purely out of the time that it takes to get a wallet set up and start using Web3. Not even mentioning the on-ramping process and all these things that make it even harder to actually start using applications. But purely on the onboarding side, the time that it takes is a significant blocker. Now, if you tie in complexity and the level of technical acumen that's required to do something like this, that starts getting complicated as well. And it's an additional barrier to entry, because one of the big issues that we have in Web3, for example, is loss of private keys. So loss of funds via leaking a seed phrase. This can almost exclusively be tied down to lack of technical understanding in terms of how cautious one should be regarding securing a seed phrase. And we delegate this to end users. We require end users to understand what a seed phrase is and understand the implications of securing it. And like most people, they don't understand the severity of losing a seed phrase, and they get, phishing happens all the time, and people don't secure it properly and it gets leaked somewhere, somebody finds it. I mean, these are really big problems with Web3 that have resulted in loss of trust. The fact that people can onboard in Web3 it takes this long period of time. It's difficult to do. And on top of this, they frequently have all their assets stolen purely because of the fact that they're required to handle all of the security themselves. This is a significant problem. And this is why the only people that are really using Web3 right now through these means are developers or people that are technically inclined, or those that have experience, kind of using these kind of things for quite a while. So, this is kind of a core problem in Web3, and this is, in my opinion, significantly handicapped the degree to which we can actually facilitate onboarding Web3. If like from the get-go in Web3, all we had was social logins and no seed for security, and that was it, we'd probably be in a very different place as an ecosystem today. But that's a relatively new solution. Like this hasn't really existed in a widespread degree until like really the past 12 months. So because of that, we still as an ecosystem suffer from the traditional wallet mechanism that a lot of people use today. And now, like to be clear, social logins aren't the only solution to this problem. You have a lot of things like passkeys now, and even there's like ERC-437 has a lot of solutions even outside of social logins that make it easy to get started, and do so without having to necessarily secure everything yourself. So there are other ways to do this today, and of course, plenty of users use these as well. But in general, this existence of that flow that I just talked about is probably one of the biggest issues in Web3 at the moment in terms of not only gaining users but retaining users. So this is like one of the number one things that we need to solve collectively before we can expect any significant amount of onboarding within the space.
Thank you for that, Ethan. And for Marco, so yeah, same question regarding the challenges for the expansion in terms of the Web3 ecosystem and industry as a whole.
I would say I would subscribe 100% everything that Ethan said before, and I would just add another level of complication that is multi-chain and cross-chain. So the user not only has to go all over the burden of understanding the importance of a seed phrase, the login, the importance of connecting wallets, but also understanding that there are multiple chains, there are multiple networks, there are not always a smooth transaction between one network and the other, and that's it's overcomplicating things, and especially when you're talking about like Phygital, we have brands that maybe can pair better with different chain. For example, if we're currently talking with some sports team, and the Binance chain, BNB chain, is more close to sports and betting, so the community and the audience is more inclined to of Binance to probably have interaction with those industries. And but if we have an offering on Binance chain, then we have to let the user understand that, that they have to change a Binance chain, they have to use the wallets, or they have to create an account on Binance chain. And we go back to what Ethan was saying about like downloading the app, registering, getting the seed phrase, and then you have like multiple accounts. It's just like having like multiple phones or multiple bank cards that you have to remember the the pass the pin to withdraw the money or to use them. And I don't know like what's the average with the average person capability for that, but I'm going to tell you, for me, if I have 10 pin memorized, and I have to memorize the 11th, I will forget one of the 10th. So for the passcode, is also like the storage, the security, where you store them, and that's complicated. So I would say definitely the more complication is coming where you have different ecosystem to interact. The second part is also the experience, the user experience that you have, because and I'm talking not only about let's say purely crypto and crypto service, but also like especially for gaming. And the problem of the blockchain is that because it's a very complex technology and is scalable to a certain point, it doesn't allow us to enjoy our experience, especially if we're talking about video games. So you have Web3 gaming that are sophisticated enough, but not competing to Fortnite or I don't know, title like Zelda, the major game recognized worldwide, because there is this problem of the latency in the transaction, and everything that um, we experience is actually built on blocks and layers of code and transaction. It gave us the certifying security of each asset is legit. It belongs to a certain person, and cannot be copied, etc. Provide a digital identity. We know some of the leaders in the market in the Web3 Animoca brands um, created the Mocha ID with their company, new company Mochaverse, promoting the digital identity. We, as another one, we are creating also Phygital identity. So not only recording what you do digitally, but being able to uh, to create a link between your offline presence and your online presence. And this is where Phygital, I think it will also help onboarding Web2 people in Web3, because they see a utility and they have also something material to touch, not only an NFT or cryptocurrency. So we believe that that there is still a lot to improve, especially in the enjoying the experience, in the fruability and usability of all features built on the blockchain technology. And thank God we have company as Particle that help us to create a smoother experience. And we definitely had improved a lot our services thanks to our partnership with Particle.
Nice to know that, Marco. So thank you for that, for the answers you have provided. And moving on to the solutions. So right now we'll be discussing what AN1 has to offer, and as well as particle network. So for Ethan, I'll start with you, Ethan. So could you describe your project's approach to simplifying Web3 onboarding and reducing entry barriers for users or your customers?
Sure, definitely. Yeah. So I think that there's kind of two parts to this. The first is, of course, the actual. I mean, like, first maybe I take a step back, because in Web3 we kind of see two main problems when it comes to user experience. The first is the onboarding piece, like getting people into an account, getting them starting to use an application, just like having them prepared to use a DApp, right? So this is the onboarding piece, right? The second problem that we see is the interaction piece. So how is a user actually leveraging Web3 once they've onboarded? These are individual issues that are isolated from each other, but they're equally important, right? Both of these things need to be solved and need to be easy for users and they feel seamless. So we're trying to address both. And typically we were mostly focused on the first problem, which is the onboarding problem. Like I mentioned, our main solution to this and to that like wallet friction that I mentioned a moment ago is basically just the fact that we, through our SDKs, now enable users to onboard to an application through Google, Twitter, Discord, LinkedIn, even stuff like that, in 2 clicks, right? So they choose whatever social login option they want. They choose their account, and what we do in the backend is we use something called MPC TSS to generate an account for them, and then we can actually secure that account in a way that's non-custodial. So we can kind of save one of the parts of the private key to their device, another part to a trusted execution environment, and then we can generate signatures in a distributed format in a way where there is no single point of failure. So we can retain a high degree of security and, of course, retain the convenience of logging in via your social account. So the same way that as a user, you go to YouTube or you go to any main application today on Web2 and you choose sign in with Google or sign in with any other normal account, and then you're into the application without actually needing to create a unique account. This is the same idea with Particle Network in terms of our core service at the moment is facilitating that process, and specifically facilitating that process into smart accounts by the ERC 437 standard. So a user onboards with their social login, they get into a smart account, they can now use applications without even signing transactions. So this is where you get into cool things like games where you can remove signatures. You can sponsor gas fees for end users so they don't have to pay any gas fees when they're using your application. They can batch transactions together, stuff like this, right? So we're not only getting users into social logins, but we're also onboarding them into a flexible account structure or smart accounts that allow them to do cool things like I mentioned, sign those transactions, gas transactions, and so on. So this is our addressal of the first half of the problem. And we feel that this, again, has been quite successful. It's been integrated across roughly 900 different applications across the ecosystem, including another one, of course. And this is how we've basically improved the onboarding experience to a degree where as a user, you can basically have no experience with Web3 and immediately start using applications quite easily without really needing to understand the complexities of blockchain. But like I mentioned, there's another part of this problem, which is also quite important. This is the actual interaction piece. So like how are you facilitating interaction within your application? How are users interacting with the blockchain ecosystem? This is another issue that is again very complicated. I think Marco actually made a great point a moment ago about like multi-chain complexity. So for example, as an end user, let's say like I'm onboarding through social login. It's easy for me. I'm into an account. I'm into a smart account, and I'm using an application. Um, Within an application as a developer, you can make it pretty seamless. So you can, like I mentioned, remove pop-ups, you can sponsor gas fees, and this can now feel like a Web2 application. So within the confines of a specific application that's using social login, it's quite simple to create an experience that feels very cohesive. You're on one chain, you're in one environment, it's isolated. You can make a lot of like cool tricks where you can abstract away the blockchain experience and make it easy for users and so on, right? So like, I think the issue more so stands whenever you extend beyond a single application as an end user and start to interact with the entire blockchain ecosystem. This is where you kind of encounter two core problems. The first is that doing things without like outside of a single application is complicated. If I want to like right now, let's say I want to play a game that's deployed on base and I have like 20 Matic on Polygon and the game on base requires like $5, right? So how do I get this value over to that blockchain? As an user, I'm like conducting 4 or 5 transactions and I need to discover these transactions. So I need to actually know how do I get from this point. So I need to like be knowledgeable enough about blockchain to understand how I can actually go about doing this, right? Or I need to do a lot of research to figure it out. Then I need to actually go and manually execute each of these transactions. So when you're doing things across applications, across different parts of the ecosystem, it requires a lot of knowledge. It requires a lot of understanding of how blockchain works and how the ecosystem works. And then, of course, it requires a lot of labor in terms of actually manually going and executing a ton of different transactions to achieve a complex end goal. So this is one of the problems. The second problem is when you start getting into multi-chain. This kind of ties pretty closely into that, where it's like multi-chain is a massive problem in Web3. You're managing multiple balances. Bridging is quite difficult for end users. It takes a long time. It's expensive. And applications are fragmented, right? Because again, they're all on all these different ecosystems or on all these different chains. There's lots of projects that are kind of trying to solve this, but at Particle, a big part of what we've been building recently is kind of addressing both of these two problems I just mentioned. So the interaction piece and the multi-chain piece. We're going to be doing some pretty big announcements about this quite soon. We haven't actually announced this product just yet, but it should be pretty soon. We're really excited about it. Basically, the idea is that we're going to be enabling this idea of chain abstraction. The goal here is that ultimately what we want to do at Particle is cultivate a user experience where you onboard through social logins into an application. And as an end user, you have no idea what chain you're on. It doesn't matter what chain you're on. You have one balance for every blockchain. It's a very unified user experience. Interactions are simple because we're using something called intents, among a few other kind of interesting technologies that basically simplify and abstract away a lot of the transactions involved in achieving a task. And as an end user, it's as easy as that. It feels very Web2-like. You're onboarding through an account you already have, you're using an application, you have one balance for every blockchain across every ecosystem. And it's as simple as that. When you want to go across every other application, you're using the same account, same balance. You don't know what chain it's on. Doesn't matter what chain it's on, because again, the chain should be a developer-centric thing. It should be wherever you think your application should be best deployed. The user shouldn't have to worry about this. So that's what we're building towards in the moment. We have a few announcements kind of regarding how we're going to achieve this quite soon. But this is kind of like the holistic user experience that we want, from the onboarding piece all the way down to the interaction, the multi-chain piece, creating something that feels very natural for end users, and kind of eliminates a lot of this complexity that I just mentioned a moment ago. So this is the direction that we're going in today, and we're quite excited about that.
Yeah, interesting. That you have shared challenges about bridging and how chain abstraction could be of solution in terms of displaying or providing the assets within the same platform or same UI. And yeah, maybe I can ask as well for to Marco. So yeah, same question. Describing the project's approach in simplifying Web3 onboarding.
Well, we take a very traditional approach. I would say like a 2.5 approach, using a physical object to let the user experience it's starting experiencing the Web3 space. The reason why we decided to create this approach, this phygital approach, starting from the physical component, is because we understood that there is still a portion of audience that is curious enough on, let's say, all the application possible that we have thanks to the blockchain and in the Web3 space, but are still not comfortable to purely have a digital experience. So we've seen many numbers on active user on the major metaverse platform. I won't say any name to don't displease anyone, but we know that there are those numbers are still very low in terms of active user, and we need to boost that. The way you boost it is like allowing everyone to use having a use case. So this is what we generate with another one. We are actually an incubator of use case. We partner with different brands. We create partnership with fashion brands. We started also enlarging to entertainment, so sports, music, gaming, not only toys and video game, but also betting company. Why? Because we take two elements that are vitally important for Web3 community. That is community. So recognizing into the values of a brand or a value or an IP of the brand, and second, the opportunity to engage. Why fashion brand? Because you have boutique, so you can engage in the boutique. You have catwalks or festivals, so you can go and engage in the festival. Sports, you have sports events. Music, you have concerts or events like Tomorrowland. You have the possibility to interact. So there is there is a potential community. There is a potential of engagement. Gaming, you have tournaments, a sports team. So we target all those categories that are have the potential to be a Web3 active community, all having a Web3 active community. And we provide them something that is easily to explain to their consumer, like merchandising, swag. For those that are watching the live the streaming, we just received this magic wristbands that is already embedded with NFC chip. And that means that I have something tangible that actually is a gate for me, is a medium to let me access to the Web3 experience. The Web3 experience then is connecting the physical product to a digital product, and we do that through our factory app that is encoding the NFC and pairing the NFC ID to the NFT ID. So that provides one authentication features, so contract proof, because you can clone the NFC ID. You cannot though clone the NFT ID, the smart contract that created the NFT and the pairing of the NFC with the NFT. So that allow me also to create a counterfeit product that's actually in the 2026 it will be required to all products in that will be traded in Europe as the norm, new regulation for the digital product passports. So that's the first thing. The second thing is creating a smooth experience where the user can enjoy a Web3 benefits like on-chain rewards with our Flex to Earn app without having any, let's say, it's hassle free, without having any needs of taking a phone, connecting MetaMask, scanning a QR code, waiting for the transaction. No, it's simple. It's very simple. You have NFC, another one powered garments. There would be a T-shirt, a hat, a wristband. You enter to the event, declare scan with our app, and then that generates a blockchain transaction that reward the wallet that is paired to that NFC. Eventually, can create a function of ticketing. So you can enter because the transaction happens. So that means that your wearable is allowed to enter to that area or that event, etc. So it's also proof. It's a proof of engagement, proof of presence. Um, Everything with one scan without the user needing to access his phone or doing any action with his wallet. So this is the smooth journey that we provide at another one to onboard user, because what we think is the first time the guest will get the t-shirt, wear the t-shirt, get scanned, so not even touching the has to register, of course, on our platform. And now, thanks to Particle friends, this process will be smoother because they can register also directly with their phone or emails or social. And it takes less time also to explain. So first step is registration, claiming the NFT that is connected to the NFC, and then nothing more. And maybe the next time the user say, "Oh, I have this NFT. What can I do with the NFT? Because I already engage offline. Maybe I can engage online." And this is how the value of another one is the mission of another one is onboarding user from Web 2 to Web 3 using a Web 2.5 approach, using a medium that is everyday tool, everyday object that you use to make this conversion. So we create those let's say magic products like a mini portal to transfer the experience from Web 2 to Web 3. I won't go more technical because I guess our friend Tabasco already explain widely the let's say the components, the technical components to make the experience smoother. And we are in another one. We're just an enabler. So we take all those components. What we do is not rocket science or secret formula. You just shake it in a mixture. It's enjoyable for our partners, and it's enjoyable for the user.
Thanks for that, Marco. And yeah, it's pretty exciting. And what's in store for Particle and AN1. And yeah, moving on to the exciting part, which is the partnership highlight. So I believe Marco will start on this one. So yeah, could you elaborate the partnership between the AN1 and Particle Network? I believe our audience will be excited to hear this and how it has facilitated user onboarding and enhanced access to digital experiences within the Web3.
Yes. So we actually started the conversation with Particle a long time ago when we wanted to create the possibility to pay with credit cards directly on our platform. Now we also decided to pivot at B2B to on a B2B approach. So the credit card payment wasn't that urgent, but what was urgent is allowing user to register with their email, with their social network, because with a phone number, because that was the possibility to reduce the registration process, especially during the events. Now we had these events that probably the people the people that listen to our podcast or follow us on socials knows. It was called Mighty Dragon, an event for celebrating the Dragon Year, the Chinese New Year, the Year of the Dragon. Um, and we wanted to have a smoother process for users that definitely were not Web3 savvy, at least 90% of them, to register and claim the NFT that was connected to the bracelet that we use, the medium that we use for the event was a bracelet. So why? Because we had them to interact during the event with the different games, and we have to create a lead board that allow us to reward the group of people that were interactive the most. In order to do that, they had to connect the NFT. They had to connect to our launchpad, and they had to claim the NFT. Now, explaining to open a MetaMask or download MetaMask and open Matic, and especially creating the account, getting the Matic to mint was like a horrible idea. So Particle came handy because they helped us to connect to create a wallet that was connected to the social account or phone number of the user. And they also have features that allow the sponsoring of the gas fee. This way, for the user, is a very simple and very smooth process. They don't have they don't need to have any knowledge, so zero code knowledge or Web3 knowledge, and they can enjoy the event. They will also have the NFT because the NFT will be stored in this temporary wallet or wallet associated to their account. And for us, it reduced the registration process from 5 minutes that we experienced on our first event in Korea during the Korean Blockchain Week to 45 seconds. And the delay was only because the event was in Shanghai. We had to use VPN, and it's lowered the the access to the Particle platform. So this was a success for us and allowed us to create a lot of KPI and numbers for the event. And we're also looking forward to further collaborate with Particle for creating our Phygital ID because and maybe Tabasco can say more about their product if it is not a secret. But we are they will definitely help us in building our Phygital ID using ERC. I don't remember what's the code now, but the Soulbone token to connect the NFT not tradable to an identity, and that will be essential for another one because especially when we talk about multi-chain or different wearables, we want to have we want to trace not trace because we want to spy, but we want to reward the interaction of each single user, no matter what is the product that he's using. Because if he has a digital interaction, he has to be rewarded. And I mean, in the future, you can even sell the benefits of your interaction as you're now selling the perks of your NFT on marketplace like Tropy. So that will be possible only when we create this digital identity, and we believe Particle is a crucial partner for this further development.
Thanks for that, Marco. And yeah, Ethan can add as well.
For sure, yeah. Another one was like a very important partner for us in terms of like an integration. Like I mentioned, one of our core like focused applications in terms of like who we want to be using Particle are those that are trying to get Web2 users into their application, those that are consumer facing. I think another one is a perfect example of this. There aren't like a ton of applications Web3 that fit this bill perfectly. But I think another one definitely does in terms of driving true adoption, real adoption through consumers and Web2 users into Web3. And this requires infrastructure that kind of accounts for that. This is why we've kind of worked with another one through social logins, and of course ERC 437 account abstraction as well. Moving into the future, as we kind of roll out this idea of universal accounts, which we'll talk more about in the coming weeks as we do some announcements. But as we roll this out, again, we're going to be hopefully continuing to work with another one to, again, solve a lot of these multi-chain problems and make the user experience even more streamlined. Because when you're trying to onboard Web2 users and get consumers into Web3, any point of friction can significantly take away from the experience. So we want to do everything that we can to work with another one and make sure that the experience is truly Web2 adjacent. It feels as natural as possible for end users. And we feel like we've achieved this in a significant degree. But of course, we want to continue supporting with this and making sure that we can kind of build as natural of a user experience as possible. So we're really excited about this because we think that there are kind of a few core use cases in Web3 that will really drive a lot of adoption. And we're quite excited about what another one is building in terms of being a core contributor to that. And of course, we're stoked to be able to contribute from our side with the onboarding side and social logins and whatnot. So definitely, we're very happy to be partnered with another one, and that we have a live integration in this case.
Thanks for that, Ethan, for the additional details. And moving on, so this is the last question before we move on to our audiences. So audiences questions. So the next steps in Web3 onboarding. So this will be looking forward into the future. So are there any emerging technologies or approaches that you believe will play a significant role in driving the next phase of Web3 adoption? Considering that right now it's pre let's say pre-having phase. So let's say what would be the emerging technologies or approaches in terms of Web3 adoption? Maybe I can start with Ethan.
Sure. Yeah. So, I don't want to sound like a broken record necessarily, but I do think that there's like one technology that will like absolutely propel Web3 into the next stage that it needs to be in when it comes to adoption. And this really is the elimination of lines between not only individual blockchains, but ecosystems, right? So like a lot of times when people think of multi-chain, they think of EVM chain multi-chain. So they think of Arbitrum to Ethereum and to Base and then to Polygon, right? But we actually see that the problem extends beyond that. I mean, that's a relatively simple issue to solve. A lot of people have been dedicated to solving that for quite a while, and there are already effective solutions that we think will kind of be used collectively to truly achieve chain abstraction in the EVM sense. But we think that there's potential within the entire space, and there's amazing applications being built on all verticals, not just EVM. So you get into Solana, you get into Bitcoin, and there's amazing things being built. So the question then is how do we unify the user experience between not only all EVM chains, but chains within every ecosystem within Web3? So this is really what we aim to achieve within this idea of chain abstraction in the near future, which is truly the elimination of all friction within multi-chain. And multi-chain referring to every chain across different virtual machines, across different ecosystems, and basically giving users, like I mentioned, this experience where they truly have no idea what chain they're using. It doesn't matter to them. It shouldn't matter to them because, again, the chain that a developer chooses to deploy on is or it should be dependent upon what they need for their application. Not every chain is going to be a one size fits all. Some applications are going to be better on another chain than maybe some applications best for Solana, maybe some applications best for Polygon. It depends on what the developer wants, right? This shouldn't affect the end user. An end user should have one balance, one central interface for every chain, and it shouldn't necessarily be difficult for them to use applications across chains. This is basically what we want to solve in the near future and kind of provide a solution that addresses this in whole. We believe that if you can solve the onboarding problem through social logins and whatnot, and you can solve the multi-chain problem, then you're about 80% of the way there to create a truly seamless user experience. Because once you're at that point, there really isn't much left when it comes to points of friction, especially when you start tying in account abstraction. You can imagine like an application that has like social logins, full chain abstraction. They have no idea what chain they're using. They're barely doing any signature pop-ups because they have signless transactions and they have sponsored gas fees. And now you have like these different layers piling on top of each other when it comes to user experience that like truly abstracts away blockchain. Blockchain has a ton of benefits, right? This is undeniable. And this is what we're all building on blockchain for a reason. But blockchain comes with a lot of this UX friction. So I think one of the big goals as an industry is like, how do we retain these benefits while we're removing all the friction and really abstracting away what feels like blockchain? We don't want users to feel like they're using a blockchain because that's not necessarily a positive thing all the time, right? We want them to reap the benefits of doing so, but feel like they're using any other application. So you reduce the learning curve, you reduce the turnover rate when it comes to end users, therefore increasing retention, and you increase adoption, right? So this is really what we want to drive, and we believe that onboarding as a first component, and then multi-chain as a second component, tying in with interaction and whatnot. These really are the things that we need to drive true adoption of Web3. And we're quite excited about this. And definitely on that side, what I can say is keep a lookout for kind of things that we're going to be talking about really over the next 3 or 4 weeks, as we have a lot in store in terms of how we're going to achieve the second part of the solution, which is a multi-chain problem. And we're really excited to be working with our partners on achieving this as well.
Thanks for that, Ethan, and looking forward to what's in store for Particle Network. And yeah, same question with Marco. So about the emerging technologies that you believe will play significant role in Web3 adoption.
Yeah, so we talked already about the cross-chain integration, and I think especially for our line of business will be interoperability connection, meaning that we need to have more interoperability between different platforms in terms of especially assets, and I'm talking specifically in-game assets because for me, buying a pair of shoe that I can only wear in the central end on Sandbox or Roblox. Now on Roblox, we know that it's not fully blockchain integrated, but maybe in the future it doesn't make sense because it's like going to a shopping center, buy a pair of shoes, and then at the exit, the the clerk tell me, now you have to leave the shoes inside. You cannot go out with those shoes. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in terms also of the digital identity, digital reputation that you create with the Web3 instrument, and it doesn't make sense in terms of user experience and fluidity of the experience. So I know that we are also part of Blockchain Game Alliance. We talk constantly with developers and gaming developers because we want to know what's new in the ecosystem. We know that there are some standards, some protocol to make a safer, let's say, an easier transition in terms of interoperability. A lot of platforms are working already on that. We know that Sandbox ST is working on the NFT scan feature that checked if you have an NFT in the wallet and then will project an in-game asset or a special avatar. And that is something that we definitely interesting for another one. We already work with the central end that has the link and wearable API. One of our product, Enter Meta, the sneakers that we created, is interoperable. And if you have the sneaker, if you have the NFT, and then you can wear the shoes in the central ends. Now, creating this interoperability will allow us to create a magical triangle that is physical, digital, and virtual. That is the physical object, the NFT, that is the digital certificate, and then the in-game asset, that is the wearable that you wear virtually. What it takes a lot of effort in from us, because we need to integrate, we need to create for each metaverse, for each experience an asset. It takes from the platforms themselves, the games themselves, to adapt also, and to be willing to open their consumer to the opportunity of integrating with other platforms. Because we're always talking about decentralization, but I sometimes I don't see much decentralization. I see like keeping your user in your garden, and I guess that should be also a little bit of mental revolution in the Web3 space, where we don't have to be protective parents that have to nurture, feed, and keep safe the kids in a safe environment. We need to let them go and experience, because they will come back. And that's I think the approach that a lot of Web3 community, Web3 metaverse, Web3 company have have to do, because it is through the experience that you really can unlock the value of a Web3 product.
Thank you, Marco. And yeah, to our audiences here, feel free to comment your questions in the several platforms, Discord, Twitter, Telegram, even in Instagram as well. So feel free to drop. And while waiting for the questions, I have some questions actually. So this is in relation to the holistic approach in terms of involving our community. So how can industry stakeholders, so these are the community, the partners we have. So how can industry stakeholders collaborate to accelerate innovation and make Web3 more accessible to a broader audience? So it involves the community here. So I'll start with Marco.
Sorry, Lupin. Can you repeat the question? I had
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is in
my
relation
yeah, my
to
line
the
got
community.
disconnected.
So yeah, how can industry stakeholders collaborate to accelerate innovation and make Web3 more accessible to a broader audience?
I guess it's through like creation of synergies and cross collaboration, and understanding the potential of connecting with other ecosystem, and creating better and more fruitful experience. I can make an example of what we are doing as another one. We are not afraid of other companies that produce NFC chip that are competitors, because we can integrate our product, because maybe they don't manufacture um, t-shirt. We can sell them the t-shirt, and then we say, oh, why don't you integrate your NFC in our FlexTorrent system, so we can use your collection to reward your user. So there is always a way to collaborate. And um, again, as I said at the beginning, the Web3 space, it seems so open. The blockchain space it seems so transparent, but there is still a lot of things that we have to work on in order to make the user feel comfortable to come on a Web3 journey, because you don't want to segregate them into just your community. You want to give them the possibility to interact and freely go around. So I guess that's the important message that I send to the builders on Web3 is like open your gates to collaboration, but the real and true collaboration, not just to pump up the numbers on Twitter or X, sorry, and on your social, but to create a product that can constructively create value for the user, because user are part of your community. We are not Web 2 is brand consumer. Web 3 is company user community. They buy from you, yes, but they are also part of you, and you have to give them back. So we add another one, give them back rewards, give them back perks, benefits. You buy a product from powered by another one, or a product from another one, and then you can go, I don't know, you can access the ticket for the Champions League of the final of the Champions League, or you can have a free drink at the event. But in order to do that, I need to partner also with company that's with brands, with company that provide that they organize the events, with company that's particle that allow us to create a smoother journey for the user. With company that can provide like virtual VR interaction or virtual try-on, so they can see if the product fits, and then they can buy it. That's the point. Uh, it is like there has to be a collaborative space. We're all part of the same incubator here. That is like the big Web3 space, and we have to work together. So that's my message.
Thanks for that, Marco. Yeah, indeed, Web3 must be community centric. And yeah, going to Ethan. So, what can you or how can industry stakeholders collaborate to accelerate innovation and make Web3 more accessible to broader audience?
Yeah, I think maybe from potentially a more developer centric, builder focused perspective. I think like Web3 is very much still a like an engineering focused sector, maybe to its detriment to some degree. But I do think that like most people in Web3 are there's a lot of like builders still left from Web3, and I think that we're at a point now where we do like I think one of the number one things that we need from the community from builders is basically the kind of like ideas and innovation in regards to actually how they can build applications that have the potential to adopt new users. Like I mentioned, I think like right now we're on the verge of a UX renaissance, so like having the user experience that truly meets the standards of mass consumers. So I think now it's just the point of how do we build applications that take full advantage of that and successfully onboard users. So I think from the community perspective, if you're somebody a part of the community, and even if you're non-technical, even if you're not a developer, I think you can still be a builder without necessarily being a developer. If you're somebody who has a good idea, or has something that you think would contribute to the space and take advantage of these kind of cool technologies that are being built out, then absolutely, it's a major point to go and find a way to implement that, go and find a way to actually take advantage of that idea and see if it sticks. Because I think right now Web3 is in a position where the potential to create applications that are going to be pivotal and actually driving complete adoption of this massive industry are huge. So the opportunity here is very significant. I think for the community, what I encourage you is to take advantage of that opportunity, come up with ideas if you're non-technical, get involved maybe on the marketing on the business side, and find ways where you can contribute to the space and drive adoption of things that, like I mentioned, are truly consumer centric. If you're a developer, then of course you can do the same thing, but maybe from more a technical standpoint when actually you're building these applications. So I think from that point of view, that's something that I would recommend is kind of figuring out ways that you can contribute from the actual like, kind of like a product creation side, because there's a lot of opportunity for that, and that's definitely something that we need in Web3 at the moment.
Thank you, Ethan. And yeah, pretty much about it. And that wraps up our Web3 runway. And before we close, by the way, anything else you would like to share, Marco?
I guess on our side is check out our socials. Be stay tuned and connected. We have a lot of news. We're gonna have another use case of our Phygital elements this month. We will announce where and when. I guess don't forget to interact with our digital portal now. Improved with the particle technology. Remember that we released a flex point for our user to interact, we get points and win perks, benefits, whitelists, NFTs, and much more. And I would say I would leave you with my usual "Let's get digital."
Thanks, Marco. And to Ethan, so where can we follow you and the Particle Network?
Definitely, yeah. So you can follow us at Particle NTWRK on Twitter. We post a lot of stuff over there, from blogs to announcements. We do a lot of kind of community engagement activities, and we have, like I mentioned, a lot coming over the next few weeks regarding kind of new products and whatnot. So definitely recommend heading over to at Particle NTWRK on Twitter. For my side, like I said, I do developer relations, so my Twitter is going to be very technical, a lot of developer content, tutorial videos, stuff like that. So if you're kind of somebody that's a part of that crowd and you want to learn how to actually build with social logins and create applications that are more consumer facing, then you can follow me at Tabasco Web3 on Twitter. Other than that, I think that is mostly it from my side. Thank you so much for having me on. Amazing conversation, awesome list of questions, and looking forward to how we can continue to collaborate with another one among other partners in the industry to drive full consumer adoption of Web3.
Thanks. Again, thank you, Marco and Ethan, for the wonderful topic about onboarding. And yeah, thanks. And to our audiences here, so don't forget to join us on AN1 and TSS Discord. And also don't forget, you can earn some flex points by just participating within our community. So by just having a D app account through launchpad.another-one.io, and yeah, connect your wallet there and create your profile. and in that way you can have, or you can engage and earn flex points. Again, thank you, and yeah, stay tuned for upcoming events, guys. And thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Marco. Until next time. Until next time. Let's get digital, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.